Hey guys, welcome back to r/justnohoa. In this video, a ridiculously entitled HOA vegan Karen called the police on me for fishing at my own private lake property. She claimed I am violating the law by illegally fishing. I'm not even part of this HOA, but this did not stop her from crossing all boundaries and making my life miserable. Here is what happens when you are not part of a homeowner association. And the HOA title story starts like this. My family has owned a lake property for generations. It never was a primary home for anybody, but it always seemed to just change hands every generation until I moved in more permanently, since I just loved the lake house ever since I was a kid. Honestly, I think it started as my second cousin's grandfather's uncle. Or something weird like that. All that matters is that right now I own it. My point is that the house just goes to whoever ends up wanting it or can afford to keep it. One thing that is great about the property, unlike other lake areas, that fishing is legal, and even though it legally belongs to one family member, me right now, it is known as the family's and a lot of events take place there. Imagine just sometimes a few people fishing and other times big family events. At age like 5, everybody's taught how to fish, so by the time we are all adults, we know how to fish, even if some ended up not enjoying it. I just want to make it clear right off the bat that this is not some subdivision HOA lake. It is an old private family lake that we have the deeds and rights to. We are just not trying to claim an entire lake for ourselves with no merit. Speaking of subdivisions, a new one cropped up nearby. With it came an extremely annoying HOA that I swear helped name the area. I won't say the exact name for privacy, but basically advertising the lake to potential home buyers, knowing full well they didn't own it and couldn't even use it. Now the entire board is made up of Karens, even the guys. The head Karen herself is just a mega Karen. She is also a vegan, which on its own is not bad, but mixed with a mega Karen can only spell out trouble. Karen also seemed to appoint herself as a so-called lake police. Not officially, just her behavior suggests it. What does lake police do when only one family can use the lake? Well, she harasses us obviously. She tries extremely hard at first to try and convince us how fishing was evil. Legit, she put up papers on our door comparing fish to dogs, and that if we would not kill a dog and eat it, then we shouldn't do the same with a fish. It was not some huge campaign, but I think she just wanted to go to the extreme to try and scare me. Bold of you to assume people out there don't kill any dog. I mean, my family doesn't, so we just found it creepy. I wish I would have thought of it back then as some kind of retort though, might have scared her off or something. It didn't work though, and we kept on fishing, eating fish, and even grilling them outside our house. Karen could go suck it for everything she was worth, which is nothing. She bothered everybody about barbecues and their pets and crap like that. She just seemed a little extra focused on us because of the fishing. I went out one day when it was just me at the house. It was a nice day and I was off of work. I just wanted to sit on my dog, fish, maybe take a nap out there. I had not even hooked any bait before I started to hear screaming and Karen running at me. Karen, you cannot just sit there and kill living creatures. They have feelings. Me, it is called fishing and it existed long before either one of us. Karen, well, this lake is now under HOA protection. We have rules and that includes no killing animals. Me, it is my lake and you can claim and it's under HOA all you want, but that doesn't make it true and it doesn't mean that I cannot fish. This absolute lunatic Karen threatened to call the police on me and I even egged her on to do it. She had an officer show up and I just calmly explained the lake was privately owned, fishing was legal, and the HOA had zero to do with the lake or my property. He left with giving Karen a very stern-sounding reminder about calling for non-emergencies and that it was a civil matter and further misuse of 911 could result in a citation or even a fine. I know that I shouldn't have said anything else, but I couldn't keep my smart mouth shut. Me, officer, if you or anybody else at the station is interested in some free fillets, just come by anytime soon. This angered Karen even more, but she couldn't do anything aside from mumbling about killing animals and stormed off. She was not done trying to push me though, not knowing that I would just keep pushing her back even harder. I don't know how she convinced the rest of the board Karens to take action against me, but she did. I got a letter demanding that I stop all activities on so-called HOA waters. It was full of big words, I think, that were meant to scare me. Maybe I should have mentioned that I was in pre-law for a few years and big words cannot scare me. I sent a letter back to them. I couldn't help myself again. I wrote how I was not a member, so they could not police anything that I did. Also, I told them when they actually had some HOA waters to please let me know. As a lake owner, I could give them some advice. Letters didn't work, so she showed up at my dock with a bunch of the board members. What do you call a group of Karens anyway? A gaggle, a horde? I think an infestation fits nicely. I had all 4 of them trying to lecture me about HOA policy. The only problem was that Karens don't like to take turns. So I had all 4 of them trying to speak to me at the same time, and even if I wanted to listen, I could not understand anything. All I did was point my finger and keep it pointed at a sign I had erected until they had all shut up. No trespassing, private lake property. Karen said, the fish are out there crying for justice. Me, they seem pretty quiet to me. Plus I don't think you speak fish. It seems the dumber the comments I make, the angrier they all seem to get. I was having a great time, honestly, just annoying the hell out of them. I had a few choices and I knew I could call a lawyer or something. Honestly, that sounded too boring for me and I was having too much fun here. I wanted to do something huge and public that would just embarrass them in front of everyone. I think lawyers have kind of ruined revenge sometimes. I decided to host a fishing cookout party. In addition to my huge family, I invited friends, had family invite friends, and I even invited non-HOA neighbors. Hell, I even invited the police and fire department of the area. Just a day to fish, enjoy a lake, and enjoy generations of traditions. And the party turnout was pretty good. Honestly, I was glad because if everybody I invited showed up, it might be a safety issue. There were about 40 to 50 people in total. I didn't really expect them to come, but some off-duty police and fire department guys came too. I think partially some people came because they knew about Karen's antics and wanted to see if she would show up and do something. We had kids running around, the dock was filled with people fishing, a fire was going, the fire department members that came helped set it up safely, to roast marshmallows and grill fish. We had coolers filled with drinks and it was going amazing. I was itching for Karen to show up and she didn't disappoint. Mega Karen and her little Karen ducklings showed up angry. She was screaming about how what we were doing was murder and that we all had to stop. I calmly told her that this was a private party and she couldn't come to my property. I was not planning on the off-duty guys to get involved, but they could smell trouble, I guess. She was standing just off of my property, but I was nice enough to walk towards the edge to speak to her, so we were not both just screaming. One of the cops came with me too. He told her that she couldn't come onto the property or she would be cited for trespassing. She was having essentially a giant temper tantrum, but technically staying off the property. Crying about it being murder, but nobody was paying attention to her. Because I have a big mouth, I of course had to get in another word. Me, if you want a plate of food, I can bring it to you. We got some nice fried fish my cousin made inside. She screamed again before storming off. One of the cops told me that I shouldn't instigate people, but I was kind of laughing at the same time. During this entire encounter, the party did not stop for a second. I had a cousin trying to juggle marshmallows and throw them into the air and into his mouth. Plates were being passed around and a few friends even jumped into the lake just to create a splash. The party was great, but what ended up better was some of the things that happened afterwards. People they wanted to join the HOA were now refusing, and when asked why, they were pointing out the Mega Karen meltdown at the party, also citing the fact that she had put up flyers about eating meat is the same as murdering dogs. I guess it wasn't just me that got that info. The board realized how insane Karen made them look and things were just not looking great for the HOA as a whole. Low membership, even members questioning if joining was a bad idea. The biggest kicker is that this story happened a couple of years ago. The cookout party though has been going strong once a year since that first day. And every year there are at least a dozen people making jokes at Karen's expense. Hell, the cop that came the first time she called came this year with his new wife and some potato salad. I think that the fact I didn't get mad and handled it with humor really helped my case and kept people on my side. If I was just yelling back at her, I could see me being the one getting warnings and people not wanting to come to my parties. Humor and revenge can beat rage in most situations. People that could get out of the HOA did it, and the membership now is just a small group of people that have the same beliefs as her. No posters, no events, and no letters warning me about the lake anymore. And yeah guys, I would say that is one way to handle an HOA Karen. Props to OP for not going overboard and not even needing any lawsuits. Sometimes a barbecue is all you need to beat an HOA Karen. If you like the HOA stories, please don't forget to like the video and leave me a comment, because that would be very much appreciated. The next one is a fantastic malicious compliance HOA story that is titled My HOA's Battle with the Community Cat. Last year, a cat started talking to mine through a window. I thought this was cute that they decided to be friends, but when I opened the door, the stray cat ran off. I assumed I would never see him again, since no cats survive very long outside where I live. We have coyotes, hawks and owls, which all have led to me never seeing the same cat more than once in the 11 years I've lived here. However, this cat, who we have since named Blue, is just different. He kept coming by to visit every day for a month. Eventually he walked inside the house. My wife caught him and took him to the Humane Society, assuming they would put him up for adoption. Instead, they told us about their community cat program, so they spayed and vaccinated him, clipped his ear, and told us to return him where we found him. We released him and assumed after kidnapping him and chopping his balls off that he would never want to have anything to do with us again. Instead though, he kept coming by. He would come inside, snuggle our dogs and cats and sleep with them all day, and then go out at night and do whatever he wanted. Then we'd be walking the dogs around the neighborhood and he would start following us, which everyone who saw thought was hilarious. Everyone except my HOA, that is. They got pissed, claiming the cat was mine, and told me that I couldn't let him out unsupervised. We started keeping him inside and just taking him on walks with the dogs to get his wiggles out, because when he didn't get outside time, he would start destroying everything in the house. This was working pretty well, but he kept eating any low-lying bird families, and this pissed off a couple of the neighbors who again complained to the HOA, so then the board proposed a change to the neighborhood rules that would require all pets to be leashed, not just dogs. A lot of people wrote in saying this was idiotic, joking about leashing their turtles and guinea pigs, etc. Nevertheless, the board passed a new rule. When I read it, I realized it didn't say anything about the length of the leash or that it needed to be held, so we got him a ridiculously short leash that he now just drags along behind him. I also contacted the Humane Society and told them how ridiculous my HOA has been, and they're going to send their social media team over to make some videos of the cat for their channels. And now let's read another amazing malicious compliance story. This one is titled Boss Agrees with Secretary that I'm not the office manager, so I stopped managing the office. So when I was doing my articles at a small law firm, internship to be admitted as an attorney, I was the go-to person for everything at the office, aka setting up computers, buying stationery, paying bills, going to court, seeing clients, etc. After being admitted as an attorney, I continued doing all this because the secretary only did about 20% of what a secretary would usually do and refused to do anything else. My boss does some shady business, for example, doesn't pay taxes, so he couldn't just fire her for fear of her ratting him out. He also never disciplined her. We are not in the US, by the way. Since we worked from my boss's mother's house, the secretary also spent about 50% of her day just chatting to his mother, and they became fast friends. Guess who was always the evil one that everyone ganged up on? Yours truly. I was made out to be incompetent at my job, and I used to cry a lot and almost became an alcoholic from the work stress. One day the secretary got really upset with me after I asked her to buy stationery since we didn't even have staples, and after a heated argument told me that I'm not the office manager and I should stop lording it about as if I was. Bear in mind, I was her senior both as an attorney and a number of years worked at the firm. My boss did nothing and rather got upset with me, and so did his mother. I decided there and then that I'm done both doing secretary work and my attorney work because I was working roughly 50 to 60 hours per week, standard is 40, trying to get everything done without receiving overpay. The unemployment rate in my country is around 30% and the legal field supply of lawyers exceeds demand. She knew this and my boss knew this, but no one cared that I was basically working myself into an early grave. Cue malicious compliance. If everyone agrees that I'm not the office manager, then I will stop managing the flow of the office and only do my attorney work. So I stopped paying the bills, buying the stationery, reminding my boss of important meetings, etc. And within 2 weeks the electricity was cut off for 10 days because it wasn't paid, and my boss's elderly mother and the rest of his family had no electricity. We could also not work for those 10 days. Once the electricity went on, the phone lines were cut because of non-payment, and we could again not work. The post piled up, there were no stationery, we couldn't do service of court documents because our service providers cut us off. It went on for weeks. I simply worked around the issues and sorted my life out. One example, when the Wi-Fi was off, I used my cell phone to hotspot my laptop without telling anyone. In the end, my boss and his mother begged me to do what I used to do, but I refused. Since I was focusing more on my actual work, my fees increased and my pay increased as well. Shortly thereafter, I moved away from that office to our secondary office and worked alongside lovely colleagues who all did what they got paid to do. I've been at this new office, same firm, just a different location, for the last 2 years. And yeah guys, let me know in the comments if you ever had any similar horrible work experiences. I would be really interested in hearing about them. The next one is another Am I the A-hole HOA story. So I understand that this is a silly issue to have, but it's an issue we have and I need advice. So 5 to 6 years ago, my HOA decided our neighborhood is boring and encouraged people to come up with ideas and activities to liven things up. This My Pup Olympics was born. It's just the neighborhood dogs competing poorly in different silly events for 2 days and being rewarded with treats. Early on there would be prizes for the owners of whichever dog won each event, and it really was all fun and games. After a couple of years we started doing a paid entry for each event and the money went towards cash prizes and a donation to a really great local animal shelter, where by the way lots of us got our puppies. Might be worth it to note that most people in the neighborhood choose to donate their cash prize towards the shelter fund, so we usually come up with a pretty great donation. People look forward to the Olympics every year and it's ridiculous, but it's fun and we all loved it. So 18 months ago, a new neighbor moved in and she has a poodle who frequently competes in and wins the dog competitions. This dog has 1 million followers on Instagram. We all follow the page and obviously root for this dog in the competitions. And well, there's no issue with the dog itself, however, it ruined the Pup Olympics last year. This dog swept every single competition. There's literally one event for senior dogs that it didn't qualify for, and that's the only one that this poodle didn't win. We all just kinda stood there for 2 days and gave cash prizes to the same woman for every event. To make matters worse, she also did not donate a single extra penny to the shelter fund. Bonus, am I the a-hole for if I'm wrong for being judgy here? This has taken an event for families and kids and turned it into something it was never meant to be. It's like having a professional athlete compete at a high school field day. So Pup Olympics are happening soon, but this year my committee decided on no competition dogs rule to make it more fair for the other owners and families. The poodle owner got notice of this and has gone ballistic. Our HOA had a committee meeting and decided in her favor that we couldn't exclude her or her dog if we wanted to have a competition in the neighborhood. I thought about it and then just went ahead and sent a cancellation notice out. Somebody from the HOA board tried to pull it back together, but it's just not getting that much interest anymore. Now the poodle owner has sent me multiple vindictive messages implying that I did this to hurt her personally and the neighborhood is split 50-50 on who was in the wrong. So Reddit, am I the a-hole here? And by the way, I did not have space in the post, but to clarify, deciding to cancel was more of a long story short after 4 days of meetings with this woman to try to come up with something agreeable. First, I offered to do a couple of categories for more serious competition dogs, but was told by the HOA that I'm not allowed to host any kind of events that make it seem like any part of this is a real dog competition. Then I tried to restrict how many events each dog can enter, and then she wanted that number to be 8. Out of 10 events she wanted 8, that was the number she got the HOA board to agree with her on. And they basically told me that if I could not let that happen, then I could not host the competition. And yeah, Ripe Stars, let me know what you think about this one in the comments. Is OP being the a-hole here or not? And I would say OP is definitely not the a-hole. It seems like this neighbor takes this way too serious and then makes it miserable for everyone else in the process. Also, it's kind of suspicious and not very nice to have over 1 million followers and constantly win competitions and then not donate the money like everyone else before you did. Definitely some red flags for this neighbor if you ask me. Anyway, the first comment said, not the a-hole, this was supposed to be just a bit of fun for everyone until the new neighbor decided to show off and spoil it for everyone else. She'll probably be hated for getting the event cancelled. Let's not forget the role the HOA played in this though, this is one of the reasons why HOAs are hated. Comment number 2, not the a-hole. It would be like an Olympic weightlifter going to amateur competitions or something. There's usually a no pros rule for these kinds of things. And damn, she's greedy. 1 million followers and she cannot monetize that? Make a post about the shelter at least. And now let's move on to the next story. It starts like this. So I had a bunch of people from the neighborhood lately saying that I'm being a jerk and an a-hole. I don't want to just ask my friends and get potential fake reassurances that I'm in the right. I really want to know if what I'm doing is a-hole behavior or not. So I was living in my house before an HOA formed, and because of the law here, that meant I was grandfathered into it. They could not force me to join, but could force anybody new moving into the neighborhood as well. I got the land when I was only 19 years old, so by this time most of the people are new, and I am one of only a few not in the HOA. This HOA has a ton of rules that technically I don't need to follow, but do because they are just normal types of things. Like they have rules about the lawn and yard being clean. I don't follow it because of them, but I just so happen to not live in a pigsty. Still, they seem to think that I should agree to follow what they want, even though they know that I'm not a member. Now, a big thing is that this is the Bible Belt of America, and most people here are very religious. I'm not one of those people, but I would never go out of my way to ruin it for other people. The HOA has a lot of rules regarding Sunday to the point that I cannot always even keep up with them. One thing I know they have is that company on Sunday is not allowed. And honestly, I get it, they don't want big parties and noise, but some people I know only have off on Sunday, and my place is the only one they can come over to. Again, we are just having fun and usually watching a football game or whatever. I know at a certain time that Sunday company rules don't apply because everybody has people going or coming when it comes to watching the games. I've tried to nicely tell the HOA people multiple times that I'm not causing a disturbance and don't need to do what their rules say. Still, they get on me every single time I do anything I want that they believe to be wrong. The biggest thing being that they have in the bylaws that people cannot own a motorcycle within the HOA neighborhood. And well, I own 2 of them. Not because I'm trying to get them angry at me, I just always loved motorcycles. My garage is messy, and that would be putting it lightly. I can only fit one of them in there, and the other, that is my more everyday one, I leave in the driveway. They have asked me many times to either keep it out of sight or get rid of it, claiming it's an eyesore and they hate the loud noises that it makes. And well, it is loud, but I'm not riding up and down the streets at 3 AM revving it. I'm just coming and going normally, and I did not even mod it to make it louder than it naturally is. What I try to do is avoid using it on Sunday because I know out of everything they would find it the most offensive. I say try because I cannot guarantee anything, and sometimes I do need to go places. The HOA had been getting very annoyed when I did this and tried to give me a fine for having the motorcycle, which I just threw in the garbage. Things went past the boiling point when, during the night, they had my motorcycle from my driveway towed for 0 reason. I'm sure they said it was illegally parked or some other garbage lie to get it taken away. The worst part was when I asked them about it, they flat out refused to admit that they did it or tell me the company that towed it away. And by the way, Ripe Stars, I'm so sorry, there's someone cutting trees or something with a chainsaw outside, so if you hear that in the recording, my sincere apologies. Anyway, I had no choice but to call the non-emergency police line to say that my motorcycle had been possibly stolen, but at the very least, illegally towed away. They had to use the VIN number to track it down, and I found out that it was at a yard over an hour away. I had to get a ride to go and get it, as well as now dealing with being told I had to pay it to get it out of the impound. The police told me that if I filed it as stolen, I could try and get whoever towed it away to pay me back the fees, as well, and get them a fee of their own possibly for having it towed away under false pretenses. I was done trying to be the bigger person here, so I went ahead and filed the paperwork while telling them that I was pretty sure I knew who had done this. When I got the bike back home, I started to act a little bit differently, especially to the members of the HOA. I did not care about being polite anymore and instead just started going against the HOA and their rules since I didn't have to follow them. I did not do anything illegal that would get me arrested, but I gave up trying to be a good neighbor. I rode my bike on Sundays, took the trash out a full day early, invited my friends over whenever, etc. To me, they wanted to treat me like I was a villain, so I was just gonna stop trying to be a perfect neighbor. They did not give up trying to give me fines either, because I found out that they were trying to get me to pay $10,000 just for having the motorcycles and trying to make me pay for the fine they got for towing the bike away in the first place. I told them that they could take their damn fine and shove it where the sun does not shine. to a bunch of religious people that might have well been me going on a huge swearing rant at them. It was the straw that finally got them to start calling me a jerk and an a-hole both to my face and behind my back, saying that I did not have any respect for the people around me or the town in which I lived. So, Reddit, am I being an a-hole for how I handled the entire situation? Was I an a-hole for not following their rules from the start? Personally, I just felt like I had enough of their crap and stopped caring. But I will leave that to you in the comments below to tell me if I'm the a-hole. Edit: some of you told me to get a lawyer because it can be illegal to be getting fines from the HOA even if I'm not a member. And that just ignoring it could cause them to try and escalate things. I did speak to a lawyer who sent the HOA a letter basically reminding them that I'm not a member of the HOA and they are not within their rights to attempt to obtain any money from me for breaking HOA rules. Also, it said if they attempt to send me any more fines, the lawyer would file charges against the HOA. They've pretty much left me alone since that point, so I did not need to sue them. Another update: I'll admit and agree that some of my actions afterwards might have come off as seeming spiteful towards the HOA. And well, I just want to make it clear that I was not riding the bike and having people over to try and shove it in their face. I did it because it was normal things and I was done walking on eggshells to make them happy. But I'm sure some of them probably did take it in a spiteful way, regardless of my reasoning. And the next one is gonna be another funny malicious compliance story. This one is titled, "My boss wanted me to call him, so I did." And by the way guys, if you enjoy the malicious compliance stories, please click on that hype button. It's a new YouTube feature that you can do I think 3 times per week, and it helps me get more noticed in the YouTube algorithm, and it is totally free. Thank you so much. Anyway, a little backstory. About 2 weeks ago, my boss hung on to some petty stuff about my work, and I thought that he would punish me by ordering me to call him at the end of all of my shifts so I would sign off. What he wasn't aware is the fact that I always stay until the next shift arrives anyway, so my colleagues and me like to come a little later on weekends. On to the main story. I live in Germany and we recently had public holidays where I mainly had night shifts while he was out and about partying and staying up late. So I did just as he said and I called him while my colleagues had to sit next to me watching my crap-eating grin and heard, "Good morning, sunshine, I want to go home." He was obviously confused, half drunk and tired, saying, "Yes, yes, go." The next time he didn't pick up, so I called his boss to tell her that I go home. At the end of the weekend with holidays, he gave up and told me I don't have to call him anymore. And yeah guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you again tomorrow.